again, welcome to the landscape class today, the 19th, first day of the second 8-week semester. So if somebody could just like give me a thumbs up or a Y for yes or something, just so I know I'm not just talking to a box and talking to myself, that'd be much appreciated. Just anybody in the chat box or just raise your hand if you hear me. I hope. All right, Kevin, thank you. All right. Zach, appreciate that. All right. Thank you guys so much. You never know. Hey, James. All right. Thank you. All right. We have two Zachs in here. Or Zach, you just got it on. Okay. All right. Just one Zach. All right. Zach, did I have you in the class before? In a class before? Go ahead.
Yeah, you've had me a couple times.
Okay. I thought I recognized the name and just wanted to make sure. And I recognize a lot of names in there as well. Brittany, good to. I always say see you. So when I say see you, we'll talk about that in a second. But I'm just saying, good to have you back in the class. Claire, good to have you again. Derek, I don't recognize the name, but might be a first time for you. Not sure, but good to have class. James, as well. Javier, I think I've had you before. Catherine, great to have you back. Kevin, as always, good to have you back in. Larry, welcome back as well. And Zach as well. Great to have you.
And Mr. Taft.
What's that? What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said, hi, Mr. Taft.
Hello, Larry. Great to have you back in here. All right. Well, a lot of you are, some of you in the final projects class as well? By a show of hands, I can't remember. Let's see, I can go back to the roster. Brittany, yes. Kevin, okay. All right. So you guys are winding up. Excellent. Congratulations to you. Getting very close. Just thought I'd go to the course list here real quick and just because I have you in the final projects class as well. And let's see. So, Kevin, yep, got you in there, and Brittany. Okay, so we have a few other ones in there as well. But I'm so glad to have you back in here and in the class. For those of you new to me, hopefully you will be able to endure the class, and you can talk to some of the people who have had me before on the secrets to endure this 8-week semester with this instructor, and we'll go from there. So by a show of hands, how many enjoy online classes? Just by a show of hands. All right. All right. Zach does. All right. Thanks for that encouragement. I was like going down, like sinking like a fast ship here without any encouragement at all. So,
if you prefer one or the other, I prefer in class.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Larry.
No.
Appreciate the comment on that. I know that's a lot with it. So I'm going to do the assumption that the rest of you are like Larry, they prefer the face-to-face. Show of hands, face-to-face. All right. All right. And some of you don't care either way. All right. So, very good. Very good. So I'm assuming because of your due diligence, you guys are moving ahead, that you've had other online classes the previous semester starting back last spring, 2020. James, did you have a question or are you just raising your hand on that? Not sure? You can turn on your mic if you want. Just raised. Okay. All right. All right, James. Thanks. All right. Yeah, so at any point, you guys either have questions you can put in the chat box, and we'll talk more about that in a second, but or you wanted to come, chime in. Before you turn your mic on, go ahead and just raise your hand so I can call on you. Sometimes I'm in the middle of thought or a conveying a thought, I'll see the hand come up, but I'll keep going for a few seconds until I hit a pause point. So I don't have to remember. When you get old like me, remembering back a few minutes, a few seconds can be a challenge. So I try to finish one thought at a time so I don't get too far off track. All right. James says hybrid or face to face. Yeah, definitely. Face to face is my favorite. In case any of you were wondering, this is not my favorite way of delivering. I've been doing it since spring, second 8 weeks of spring. I think it was 2020. We went into this online challenge or situation, or I don't know if this is a benefit or not, but anyway, and it's actually something that as a department, the other full-timer in the department, we have discussed about getting all the CAD classes, starting with the intro classes, getting them online anyway. And there's a whole huge hurdle politically in that whole thing. So this is actually in some way, and hopefully we can go back to face and continue the online offering. This is in some way a blessing to be able to have this forced online environment here. So for those of you who just may have come in or one or two leaving, I don't know if you were in the wrong room or didn't like my voice, one of the two, bailed out. But if you just came in, this is being recorded. This is for Landscape 24-27, and we're going to move through the semester in this format, and it looks like spring 2021 will be in that format as well. One last question before we get going. How many, now I know there's two of you that are going to final projects, so obviously this is your last semester. Again, congratulations to the two of you that are doing that. I've known both of you, the two of you, Brittany and Kevin. Brittany and Kevin. I've known you for quite a few semesters. Outstanding students, if I can say that. And you guys do great jobs, and congratulations to you moving out and into the world. I think, Kevin, I think you are working, if I remember right, you've been working for some time in the drafting industry. And Brittany, I think you have been for a little bit. Did we get you a job, or did you find a job? I can't quite remember on that as well. If you want to chime in or refresh my memory on that. But,
almost.
What's that?
Almost.
I almost got you a job.
Almost, yeah. I did do an interview, but I wasn't able to get it.
Okay. All right. Well, great. We got you to the interview process anyway. So I guess halfway correct. Congratulations on that. And are you working now?
Not yet, but after this semester ends, I will.
Okay. So you already have a job lined up.
Got some offers, yeah.
All right. Congratulations on that. That's always a nice feeling, I know, when you're finishing a long road of going through drafting classes. Brittany, I have one last question for you, if you don't mind. What field is it? Is it? I thought you were going towards architectural civil. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, let's see, the one that I might be able to do afterwards actually is going to be dealing with building cabinets, and I'm not 100% sure what my position would be yet. I have to get back with them.
Okay. All right. So it's the building industry, cabinetry work going into homes or commercial buildings, whatever it may be. Well, very good. Kevin, I know you're kind of the quiet type. Do you mind either putting in the chat box or opening up your mic? What industry have you been in? Because I know you've been working for some time. I think since I've known you, actually.
Yeah. I was working for a civil engineer for 3 years now.
Okay.
So pretty good. Thank you, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. Which you don't mind telling me which company it is? I can't remember.
Bannister Engineering in Mansfield.
Yes, very good, very good. I heard they're a good company, so
They're good people.
Okay, great. I'm glad you're doing well there. And perseverance, as the rest of you can see, it takes a lot. Like I said, Kevin's been working since I had met him almost. I think got going in work, and just been pushing ahead, and as well as Brittany, pushing approaching the finish line. So, and that should be an encouragement to the rest of you. It can be done. I know we all have personal stuff and things going on, and juggling act of everything, but it can be done. You know, I go back to my story, and you guys have had me before. I apologize. I'm going to be repeating stories for everybody. So hopefully you have a bad memory about stories like me. So it's kind of like you get old like me. You always are meeting new people, and if you don't remember meeting them. Anyway, but I went to started in community college back in the 70s, early 80s, and didn't know where I was going. Anyway, came out when I finally came out here, which was 05. Went back to TCC, got my second AA degree. Tried to put the two AAs together, they equal 4, but they didn't see it that way. So went on to started off UTA, then transferred over to UNT, finishing up there, and juggling a lot. I was working as an adjunct, as part-time instructor. I was working for a survey company, doing drafting for them, and just the whole thing going on full-time in school, online night, just that thing. So it is tough, and I really appreciate what you guys do, especially when you guys get down to the end. And I apologize when I say guys, I mean ladies and gentlemen. When you get down to the end here, you can see the light, and hopefully that AA will benefit you initially, pay wise, position wise, all of that. A lot of companies are calling, but they want people. They're asking for students that have graduated or close to graduating. Even if I have these outstanding students that I've had this last semester, and Catherine, I'm going to throw you in that boat too. I remember your last project still stands out in my mind. Just incredible work. Going through, getting towards the end, but they're still looking for people with an associate. Even so, some of my beginning students last semester was a technical drafting class. Man, they just, like many of you, just knocked it out of the park. I mean, not just maybe one student. I had 2 full classes last semester, 2 classes of 18, ended up with about 15 in each class towards the end. But some of them just incredible work. Probably a total of 4 or 5 between the 2 classes on stuff that just was really great. But companies still want to see people, even if they have great work, that are close to graduating or have graduated. So that associate's degree pulls a lot of weight on that for some reason. If you're thinking about moving ahead to other fields, or not other fields, but moving up within the field, that bachelor's degree may have to come into play. I don't know. It depends what you're moving towards. And if any of you have any questions about career direction, as always, I've always said, I'm here to help you, not only through that very first class, but through other classes and this class, and moving ahead, even after you leave TCC. If you have questions about career or choices, I'm here for you. So don't become strangers. Let me know what's going on, and if you give me success reports, I appreciate that too. Even if you don't ever talk to me again, just shoot me an email and let me know. I've had one student that went to work for. Zach will be right with you. Went to work for Freeze and Nichols. This is about 2 years ago, I think. And he was single, and now he stayed in contact with me. They got married, I think, a year ago, and he's moving up in Freeze and Nichols. He's going for a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. So great success stories, and I would love to hear what happens in your lives as well. Go ahead, Zach.
I just wanted to say, hey, Johnson is a teacher for Civil 3D, and he got me on at Freeze and Nichols in January.
Very good. Outstanding. Love to hear that.
So I've been there part-time and slowly working my way to full-time because the classes are all online now. But hopefully next semester, if I can get everything registered, I'll be graduated, and they're already talking about tuition reimbursement and sending me to get a bachelor's degree to move up already. So pretty cool.
Zach, thank you so much for that. And if you don't mind, if you have, I know you're really busy, Zach. That's wonderful news. If you don't mind, just sending an email with that, with just what you said, just a couple lines on that. Because what I do is I push that to the upper ups, not to boast my ego or our department or anything, but success stories over TCC. They love hearing that and seeing that. Not that it gets published anywhere else, but our VPA loves it, and our VP Vice President VPAA. Okay, I'll get it right. Loves that. Our president loves that, and so if you don't mind putting that together, but that, and you know, Zach, that's really yeah, and James says impressive, big company and good representation. Exactly, James. I was just going to say it's also impressive you're working part time. Usually they're going to only take on full timers, and they'll work around scheduling, but they want you there 40 hours a week, you know, for training and get you used to them, the culture and environment. But that's great to hear too, because we've run into a lot of problems with students want to go to work, but they want them, you know, 8 to 5 or whatever. But this online environment, Zach, as you said, has really facilitated a lot of opportunities out there. So any of you that, you know, you think you might.
They've been really flexible.
Oh, great. That is great to hear. You know, I'm not sure if it was Freezing Nichols. I think it was them. They built a brand new building. Zach, I don't know if you can help me on that, but it was one of the large engineering companies built a brand new building, and their whole culture is towards the younger generation. They have like these rec centers within the building that they built, that they have ping pong and pool. They encourage people to take some downtime, to take some breaks, to take lunches, not to work, you know, 9 or 10 hours straight, or 11 hours, 12 hours straight. And they encourage that type of culture where they're trying to not only for relaxation, but for also for education, as you pointed out, Zach, which is huge. When you start getting reimbursement, paying like $1,000 a class at a university plus books, that is just huge. Our son works for uh, um, Encore Electric. Let's see how my brain is working on a Monday morning. Encore Electric as an auditor, and he's just, you know, been just enticed with. They have reimbursement to get his master's degree to move on. So when you can latch into big companies like that, and nothing against small companies, if you hooked up with a small company that doesn't have that doesn't mean they're bad or anything. It's just that they don't facilitate that. And the other thing is, I want to throw out there, for if you're working for a smaller company or go to work for a smaller company that you hadn't heard anything about the reimbursement, you might approach them, because I worked for a company when I was out here. It wasn't associated with surveying or anything. It was another company, and I approached them because I hadn't heard anything about any reimbursement. This was retail. This was just totally off the grid of drafting, and it was just another one of those part-time jobs to help you through. And the part-time, I think I had to work 32 hours a week or something. That was considered part-time. But to get this, they actually had reimbursement for some reimbursement. It was more of a scholarship for education. So they, even so, it wasn't even in the field of business or retail or anything like that. So it doesn't hurt to ask, right? I mean, always ask. Um, you know, my wife likes to get a deal, but she doesn't always want to ask for the deal. You know, we go antique shopping or something like that, and I don't have any problems. Hey, will you take less for that? Or, you know, I go to Home Depot and buying bags of, you know, gravel or whatever, and I'll go and find there's a couple ripped ones. I don't have any problems loading those on there and say, hey, will you give me a discount on these? You know, usually I get that, depending on the person, depending on how deep the discount. So always ask is my main thrust on that. That's one of my jobs, is to help you guys facilitate work, to get into the industry. That's what I'm here for. I want to teach you AutoCAD, and I want to teach you about landscaping. And some of you are going, well, I don't want to learn about landscaping, but I have to take the class. I know, we'll talk about that, but you know, after you get done, when you get to that final project and get that out, my job isn't done. I'm here to support you all the way through in any way I can. The only thing I can't support you with is money. So don't ask me. Instructors don't make a lot of money. But we have a lot of funding too for scholarships and stuff that is not being used. So if you're early into or halfway through TCC, don't forget TCC has a lot of scholarship money that's not used every year. So don't hesitate to go to financial aid and find out about scholarship money. It doesn't, my always advice is do not take any loans out if you can help it. I know a lot of you can't. It's very tough not to get through loans. If you can take grants and scholarships, the average student, and I know I've told you some of you this before, from a 4-year or from a 4-year university. I'll slow down in a sec. From a 4-year university, the average is like $38,000 in debt when they come out. So if you're making 36,000 when you come out after 4 years, you can do the math. It's not great. A lot of people are cumbersome with student debt, and I encourage you to stay out of that if you can, any way that you can. Like I said, sometimes you just can't avoid it. All right, off on that soapbox for a second. So let's pull back in here. We have 22 slides to go through. I do want to take a break through here. Today will be mostly lecture, as a lot of you know, the first day is just lecture, the foundation of the class. If you don't have a good foundation, as in building, things will crumble. I have a tendency not to be real solid. So we want to get a good foundation. That's why I put out the email so early. I think this class, I put it out 2 weeks early, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe it was just a week. I'm bragging a little bit, but a week early on announcements of saying this is the most important day, one of the most important days. Don't miss it. A lot of information on how this class is set up. For those of you who had me before, it's pretty much the same way, other than we don't have a hard copy notes and we're not printing off a plotter in class. So we'll get that part going. All right, let me just flip over here to one other thing. So I'll be talking most of the day today in this. I welcome each and every one of you. We have a total of 15 in the class. We have 10 right here, so the rest will probably be watching online and delivery on that when they can make it to it. So that's one of the great things about this. All right, let's rock and roll on this, and do not hesitate to stop at any point, either in the chat box or raise your hand. When I finish my thought, I'll come to you, and it doesn't matter if it's off topic. If it's something that just all of a sudden came to you that I talked about 10 minutes ago, don't worry about it. I'll go in any direction you want, and I'll try to get back on topic as quick as I can. I'll talk the lecture, and then we're going to take a break, probably in about 45 minutes, about 1:45 or so. We'll take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and finish up this lecture. That's kind of how the class will run in general. We'll lecture, lab, may go back to another lecture, and then the rest lab, just depending on what type of material we have. And then also today we'll cover the assignments for the week. I did send out an email, a video that I made that shows you the assignments for the week. I talked over the assignments for the week and I'll try to do that each week to kind of give you a heads up what they're all about and what's ahead of you. I do post all the assignments a week and ahead, so if you want to knock them out, that's fine. Just be cautious that you have all the information that you need. You're putting it on the right size paper. You're putting it in the right format. Is it a sketch or is it in CAD? We won't do any hand drawings in here per se. Well, we may do one or two of the sketch. Mostly it's going to be in CAD and some sketching. So we'll talk about that as well. And as always, stop me if you have any questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through this morning or this afternoon. You've probably seen, some of you have seen the slide before. So don't forget, if you have dreams, you have desires, do not give up on them. You might get derailed and go in a different direction for a while, but don't give up on what you want to achieve. Keep those, hold those, because if you have a passion for something, please hold on to that passion. When you discover your passion for something, it doesn't have to be drafting. I'm just talking across the board. When you have a passion for something, please hold on to that, because a lot of people cannot find their passion. It took me 40 some years to find my passion for teaching. I don't want that to happen to anybody. We have career evaluations, and we'll talk about some careers here in this class. I talked about careers in the intro classes. I'm trying to help you find your passion, what that is. We have a wide variety of areas. We're just with the STEC building down on the South Campus that we used to meet face to face. You know, we have 3D printing, we have welding, we have a machine shop that has different things in there. A laser cutter, a water jet cutter, three-axis, four-axis machine. We have all this new machinery in there. We have an engraver now. We have a vinyl cutter. All this new equipment that we have. We have CAD in different directions. We have robotics right next door. We have electronics. So this is the place to find your passion. And if it's not drafting, as I said this before, do not take a job based on money. Find out what your passion is, and I'll come back to more of that later, but hold on to that passion. All right, as I put up here, all lectures will be recorded. A little bit late on that, right? But I started right from the beginning, and I will put those in as a reminder. I'll have that as a reminder as we go. All right, I'm just kind of monitoring the inbox here on email to see if any people are having any problems finding the class. And if you follow the directions to start here button, hopefully that was. Let me ask you that real quick before we move on. How many of you, just by show of hands, saw the start here information and it was helpful? All right, James, Kevin, thank you, Zach. Wow, okay, wow, great, Claire, thank you. Catherine, all right, Brittany, Eric, thank you so much. I appreciate that. At least half of you. So that makes me feel like, well, it wasn't, you know, a waste of time or anything out there. So, but again, and we'll talk about that. The start here button is very helpful. If you ever get lost, don't know what to do for the day, the week, or whatever, go to the start here. That will kind of recap everything. So that there's a class time that we'll be meeting 12:30 to 3:15. The actual meeting time, the live session. Of course, these will be recorded, so you can catch up on those as well. There's my email. I sent a video on how to email. If you're starting a new email, when you're submitting your packets, make sure you look at that the proper way. That way, you ensure that I receive a new email. If you're responding back, just hit respond. There's no need to go through the process. Office hours, obviously, I'm not going to meet with you face to face, but I do have a separate room that we can meet virtually. If you want to have a private conversation, we can go into that. And there's my office hours listed there. Let me just come back to this for a second. For weekend emails, I try to take a break over the weekend and not answering emails. I'm getting a little bit better at it. But I have a tendency to kind of look at emails and once in a while, but I don't count on it. Derek, you had a question. You have a question, Derek? Okay. Just saw your hand up there. Just want to make sure. All right. Let me go back to the chat box. Okay. So there's the hours by appointment. Send me an email. I'll send you a link for a specific time, and we can meet if you need to talk one-on-one. Last class, there was not, I met, well, I guess I did meet quite a bit in office hours, but we had a lot of discussion, open discussion, and I encourage open discussion, especially online, whether it's in the chat box. We had a lot of discussion in the chat box. Going on the last two classes, and it's really helpful for other students. Don't think there's ever a dumb question or something you shouldn't ask, because I can guarantee you somebody else probably has that same question. So make sure that you ask as it comes up to it, or write it down. And if you want to email me the question, that's fine too. But I'm telling you, the chat box or turning on your mic really helps other students as well. We're going to just basically go through that syllabus that I sent out. Show of hands, anybody have problems logging on? Obviously you're here, but did you have any initial problems logging on? Show of hands. Most of you are veterans, experienced students, so you probably didn't have any problem. And this is the second 8 weeks, so you probably got all the bugs worked out from the 8 weeks. First 8 weeks. So there is a help desk if you do have logon information or problems with Blackboard, how it's working. I can't help you a lot with that. I can help you with some things, but any logon stuff definitely is way above my pay grade. So you have to go to help desk for that as well. All right, so what the heck is this landscape class about? Has anybody, I mean, other than landscape, are you like just baffled about what this class is about? Like, we're talking about construction, and you guys are doing like Revit and doing electrical, and Revit has all this MEP in it, and then you're doing other, what are all the other things that you've been taking, topo. Now all of a sudden we're talking about landscaping. Is anybody just like floored with that? It's like, is that out of the blue, or does it make sense within your wheelhouse or within your thoughts? Going back to Zach's comment on Freeze and Nichols, yeah, great company, but they're such a big company. They have probably, I assume they have an environmental department that handles things like landscaping and environmental studies, impact reports. That all has to do with landscaping. And there's another large survey company just outside of Fort Worth, and I work with them quite a bit on placement, job placement, and they have a complete environmental department. So they'll take some of the drafters, they bring them into surveying, and they'll let them sample different departments, whether there's the engineering portion, the survey portion, the landscape portion. There's just different departments that they'll move them around into. James says, let me get over to the chat box real quick. James is saying landscape is a very important part of the construction process, so it makes sense for us to learn it. Okay, thanks, James, for that encouragement. I appreciate that. I used to have a landscape company. I love landscaping. This was years ago in California. One of my brothers, I have 3 brothers, you'll hear me mention them. One of them is a landscape architect living in California. So, here's a good point about career. If you haven't found your passion, your direction all this time, a lot of you have, because you've chosen building slash civil as your degree path. So I struggled for years on that and figuring out what I'm going to do. So finally, I graduated my first 2 years in California with construction management. I got kicked out of there because I had so many units. So they go, here's your degree, here's what I bounced all over the place. I was a wildlife management, I was physical therapy, sports medicine, athletic training. I was just all over the board trying to find what I wanted to do. And it started off as architecture. So I guess I kept taking drafting classes, and I was on the board at the time. Anyway, they kicked me out and said I didn't even apply for my diploma. All of a sudden they just popped in the mail and popped at the house one day. And so I went on, project management, and I stayed pretty much in construction throughout that. So I do enjoy it, and here I ended up, teaching CAD, which I love now. I just love this, and so all that background gave me information in the construction landscape side of it. So the reason I'm telling you this is something interesting happened. My grandfather, my dad's dad, died when my dad was about 5 years old. Got hit by a hit and run driver, and so my dad didn't get to know his dad, and obviously I didn't even know my grandfather. But from what my dad told me, he actually had a nursery, a landscape nursery, and so I was like, oh, that's why I like plants, and I work outside in the yard all the time, and I love plants and digging and doing all this stuff. And so he told me that, so I knew that much about him. Well, about a couple of years ago, we went to California and visited my dad and his wife in California, and my dad happened to mention about my grandfather again, and he actually gave me a book about it was a what do you call it lost for words. It's when you graduate high school or when you go to high school, you get one of those books every year. I forgot what it's called. Yearbook. I guess that's what it's called, yearbook. So he brought out this yearbook, and it was from when my grandfather was alive. And my dad's a historian, so he obviously saves a lot of stuff. You guys weren't going to even help me out on yearbook. Thanks a lot. I was waiting for a response in there for somebody to bail me out. I'm probably about 3 shades of red right now. But anyway, so he brings out this yearbook, and he opens it up, and it had my grandfather in it. So it wasn't when he went to high school. I found out he was a teacher at a high school. I'm like, oh, I wish I would have known that 40 years ago. That's why I had a thought of teaching, but it just was fleeting, and I should have pursued that. So that kind of was insightful. But then it goes further. He was in charge of the agricultural department doing drafting and design and landscape. So like, oh my gosh, this history all of a sudden comes together and makes sense in my life now. So if you're having struggles finding out exactly what your passion is, you might look back. I don't want to look back on all my ancestry because it's probably not all great, but my grandfather, it ends up being just wonderful. It gives me some direction and gives me some clear career direction of what I should have been doing many years ago, pursuing. So I probably should be working at the Northwest campus, horticulture, doing landscaping design. I don't know. But I love where I'm at. I love what I do. That leads into this. So landscaping is important. It's important in a lot of different areas, and it's important for our environment. And here's what we're going to study. This is going to be an overview of landscaping. We're going to get into some terminology, but we're not going to get real deep. We're not going to get into a lot of plant identification or hardly any plant identification. We're going to use some terminology within it. We're just going to get a feel for it. So if you want to go deeper into it, there's other classes that you can take, not at TCC South, but there's horticulture, landscaping that you can take. In fact, I've had talks with them up there. They go on, you teach landscape class? And they go, we need to get together and, you teach landscaping up here at Northwest or something. I was like, yeah, good. And that was, doesn't happen. So it's too busy. But anyway, so to perform a site analysis, so landscape planning and design that we're going to get into. This is a short syllabus. This is actually, I didn't make this up. So planning, landscape, design. All right, because there's landscape drafting that you guys will all agree on. That's what the class is landscape drafting. But we're also going to get a little bit of design work. I mean, you just can't help getting into just like 1305 basic technical drafting. We couldn't help getting into some design work along with the project. So we'll perform a site analysis. We'll be talking about each one of these. Probably there's about 7, I think. I think there's about 8 actually categories. We're going to have to double up on some of them because we only have basically 7 weeks in the class. As the last week, we'll be working on a final project and then, of course, the final exam. So, perform a site analysis, layout for plant and materials, excuse me, site amenities. And if you don't know any of these terms, you want to look them up, that's fine, get a jump on it. But that's what we're going to be covering, plant material. All right, so I just saw that. Oh, explain plant materials and layout for plant materials. So all dealing with plant materials, so maybe that's where we can double up. Design an irrigation system. So irrigation being the water, how the heck we're going to get water to anything. This is will apply for commercial and residential. We won't get deep into it. Like we'll talk about valves, but we won't talk about all the requirements that goes to installing these backflow valves, about being certified. We won't get all that deep into it and stuff, but we'll talk about, so at least you know what there are, what their function is within the irrigation system. We'll talk somewhat about codes and standards. The International Building Code will briefly touch on that. There's so much because not only International Building Code, but also your local city codes and state codes. There's just so much within code systems that you would have to know. I dealt a lot when I had a landscape company. I dealt directly with city codes. So every time I moved to a different city, I had to be licensed in that city. Of course, California just licensing it. You know, if you want a breath of fresh air, you have to get a license. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to go down that road. Apologize to anybody that's listening that's from California, because I'm from California. I lived there almost 50 years, but anyway, that's a whole nother political topic. Sorry. But anyway, so I had to know the codes and requirements for every city that I worked in. So it got a little, you know, all the way, a little, not cumbersome, but you had to know it because it got all the way down that in some cities you only could work certain hours. You couldn't start before 7 or 8 a.m. or something like that. Or you had to have barriers and construction cones and stuff around the site that you're working on if it was close to a road. Just all the different requirements. Some cities didn't care. They just wanted you to have a license, a city license, and go at it and do whatever. They didn't have any inspection other than irrigation. They didn't have any topo or any grading requirements. Some did, some didn't. So codes just is a huge. You can spend at least 2 or 3 weeks just on codes and requirements on that. So we'll just get to the top of that. We'll talk about cost estimates, something that's really real that you have to be aware of anything that you go into. I started doing woodworking, I guess, about 8 weeks, 10 weeks ago. Our sons got into woodworking, and I decided I wanted to get into it as well. I always wanted to do that. And so, you know, doing a good cost estimate on a project is also very, doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're building something or you're designing something, you have to know about costs. And we'll talk about that, cost and developing project specifications, exactly what is needed for the project on that. All right. And we'll close that. All right. So, and of course, 1305 and 1409 are prerequisites, required prerequisites for this class now. All right, so attendance, make sure that you're sending in the email for attendance every day. I should send you an email how to format that email and how to actually go in the email. If you have any questions, again, the Start Here button is a great resource to help you navigate this class as an entirety. Make sure that you send in the email every day before 12:30. If you don't send an email, you record it as, even if you do attend, and I see your name up there, of course, my memory isn't great, but you still have to send an email. I need it for documentation. That's basically what it is. Some of you might be asking, does a lack of email or attendance dropping affect your grade? No, it doesn't. But I can drop you if you're failing or on or before the drop date. If you're failing the class and you have poor attendance, and that kind of goes hand in hand, that kind of makes sense, I can automatically drop, but I will not automatically drop you without communicating or trying to communicate with you. When I say try, a lot of times students are in that situation, just kind of vapor off the earth, and I never can catch up to them again. So I will try to communicate. Don't forget, if you decide to drop because this course is too much or you got too much going on in your life or whatever, make sure you check with financial aid and everything else that's associated, that's department. Make sure you check on all that before you drop because it can impact. All right, the requirements for the class. Javier, did you say send an email of attendance before 12:30? Yes. So every day before 12:30, as it states in the syllabus, as it states if you watched any of the videos, the Start Here video, it emphasizes that. So yes, make sure you send it in before 12:30 each day. Even if you're attending, watching the recording of this, each day send it in before 12:30 and I'll mark you as an attendance. Okay. So have you already answered that for you? All right. Yes. No. Okay. You're welcome. All right. All right. And I don't know why this PowerPoint is. Let me see that previous PowerPoint. It has everything on that. This one's whacked out for some reason. So on attendance, on stuff that you'll need, yeah, you're going to need some colored pencils to do some color drawings. And that's just kind of the format of landscape architecture. There's still some things done by hand. For presentation purposes, we'll get more into that. Circuit template is very useful that you can use in sketching and doing some design work. Make sure you have a flash drive. Make sure you're saving your projects, your information, your assignments. I would save at least 2. I'm kind of over zealous on that. I have 1 file for all of TCC, whether it's my coordinator responsibilities or class responsibilities, anything associated with TCC. I have 1 file folder, and I save that file folder in 3 places. So right now I'm pulling off an external hard drive for the class. I save it on my desktop, separate file, and then I save it on another external hard drive as well. So I save it in 3. I'm just kind of overzealous like that. I would say at least 2 places. Flash drive is not for constant retrieval. It's for carrying information. Let me see if I have that on here. Let me see. Yeah, okay, I'll get back into that in a second. So make sure you have a flash drive. You can use cloud storage. There's lots of free cloud storage systems. You won't have files that are so big that are going to use up the cloud storage. Don't worry about that. And you can email yourself too. So that's another place. So make sure you have these items: flash drive, colored pencils, triangle, 45-degree, and architectural scale. That will help you through the class. All right. You should have a lot of that from 1305 as well, class, except for the colored pencils. We didn't use those in 1305 or 1409. AutoCAD. So you should have AutoCAD downloaded. You've been doing this for a long time. This is an advanced class, so there's the website. Oh, kind of the website. I've got to do some editing on these slides, obviously. So it's autodesk.com. Student software, student educational material, and you can find out the requirements if you don't have it downloaded, but you will need either on a desktop or laptop. They even have it for tablets now. They do have it for iPads as well, or for the Mac. And I haven't operated on a tablet. I don't know if any of you have AutoCAD. I don't know how that works. I hear it's getting better all the time, so you're welcome to use that. Whatever it takes to facilitate this class, you can use any one of those as well. I'm running 2021 on here. That's why I put 2021. My computer crashed. I mean, literally just died. I think it was the first semester we went online. I started having problems with it. Fortunately, I had a laptop from school I was able to use for the first semester, and then it just blue screened. I mean, it just would not even boot up after a while. It was terrible. So I ended up researching for computers. And what was really weird is I purchased the one that crashed. It was an HP Pavilion, and it was a gaming computer. It was high end for gaming that I did because it run CAD, all the CAD software. And initially it ran pretty good, and then it just started having problems and ended up dying. And so I started researching. I got a hold of an IT guy and see if he could rebuild or fix or repair it. Of course, the warranty was for 1 year, right? And when did it die? 1 year, 4 months. It died. So that was my luck. So I started researching, and I got a hold of this IT guy, and he goes, "Well, let me research and see what He goes, "I can repair this, but I can't guarantee it's going to keep working." He did some repair or temporary repair work and did some testing on it, but it just wasn't doing well. He said, "Well, I can buy you one for X number of dollars, but," he goes, "I don't know if that's going to solve your problem. I can also build one for about the same price." So he did some research on it. And he goes, "You know what? I think one of the problems was overheating. My home office is a little bit warm, and new computers, they want everything small, right? So it's a small cabinet. Well, there's poor air circulation, no matter the cooling system they put in there. It's just poor air circulation is what he explained to me. So he built me one. It's probably about the size there in the PowerPoint, maybe a little bit bigger actually, as far as size of the tower. But it has like two cooling fans, two fans in it, and a couple cooling systems. I even put an external fan back behind it, so when it gets warm, I kick that thing on. He gave me an app that I can monitor the operation temperature and told me what's it supposed to stay in, the processing temperature, all that, to keep it cool, make sure it maintains. And he said this should, last you hopefully another 4 years. Computers have a hard time going 2 or 3 years. It's just the way they build them nowadays. And so he said it should go another 4 years. And I said, perfect. I want to retire in 4 years. So it will last. The whole reason I'm telling you this is because I went to download AutoCAD on it, and I had a problem, not with the computer, but with downloading. So I had to do a whole new reinstall. And for some reason, it didn't give me the option of 2020. It just boom gave me 2021. I don't know why, but it just downloaded 2021. So I didn't do an uninstall. I looked at 2020 and 2021. There's not a lot of difference. I haven't found a huge amount of difference in the two, and I don't think we're going to use any process that will encounter a difference. So either one, 2020 or 2021, will be fine. We try to stay a year behind on TCC on different versions. We give Autodesk and the different companies a year to work out the bugs. So right now, technically, we're supposed to be 2020, even so they have 2021 released, obviously. And then next year, we'll go to 2021 after summer. So 2021 fall, we'll go pick up 2021 officially. And then they'll have 2022 out by then. So we'll see what changes are on those. But anyway, 2020 or 2021 will be fine. Again, make sure you use cloud storage flash drives. Flash drives are not for constant retrieval. Again, you can take something and store it. Take that flash drive from say your laptop, and then say you have a desktop. Plug it into your desktop and back it up there. Or you can back it up as an email or back it up on an external hard drive. But don't constantly retrieve from a flash drive. They will wear out, and you will have a higher chance of losing work as well. Okay, so webcams, and this is a point I wanted to bring up. If you guys don't mind, and you don't have to do this, it's not a requirement. And maybe it won't show up, but it will show up if you guys don't mind putting a picture of yourself. And if you don't mind, you don't have to, or something that portrays your character or your interest or something like that. Because when we don't have the PowerPoints up, which isn't often, but we just have the chat going, and you know how it shows the different pictures where you guys can see me. All I see is just a round circle with your name, a round circle and the image of a head with your name below it. So one of the things I thought would help the rest of the class and myself, if you either put your picture or something that portrays your interest or character, it might liven up the online situation a little bit. And if you want to use a webcam, you're welcome to it, but just keep it off until you're talking, or if I call on you, you can use a webcam and, of course, the microphone. And that's just to conserve on bandwidth. It helps a lot. People get kicked off sometimes, and so that poses a problem as well. So use the raised hand on the icon down at the bottom. I don't know if you can see my screen or not, but it's down at the bottom, a little raised hand icon, and you can turn your mic on. Keep it off so it keeps the chatter down and the noise down, so you can just hear me chattering. That's reassuring, isn't it? Just hearing me. All right. Raised hand icon, chat box. Okay. No questions so far. We're moving along here. You guys are doing good. Each week's work will represent one packet. So each week we're going to have a set of assignments, whether there's 2, 3, 4, 5, getting probably won't be any higher than 5 assignments for each week. And those are all due by 12:30 each Monday, by 12:30. So you have every day an email for attendance by 12:30. And then every Monday, I know we have a holiday, Thanksgiving coming up, so I probably didn't work that into the schedule. But anyway, except for that Monday, a holiday week, every Monday by 12:30, you'll send in a packet, and we'll talk how to send that in. You'll email that packet in with all the assignments from that week. And all assignments will be on A, B, C, or D sheets. We'll talk about that with the master title block. And late assignments will not be accepted. So please ingrain that. Put it as a post-it note on your laptop, your phone, or somewhere, but you have to have it in by 12:30. There's reasons I'm being hard-nosed about that, and one is to train you for industry. If you ask, if you ask Kevin or Zach, who's now working, about deadlines, when the boss says I need it by a certain time, and you come to him with an excuse, you may take that excuse once, maybe twice, but I pretty much guarantee the third time you're going to be down the road. They're not going to put up with that. Time is money. Excuse me. And you have to remember that if your boss is asking for it, it's because his boss is asking for it, or the project manager, or whoever oversees the project is asking for the set of drawings or that drawing or information. So this is to help you train you for industry. And also it avoids me, because I'm lazy. I don't want to figure out, okay, he was 2 hours late, or he was 3 days late, so 5% of 2% or 3% of the total. I'm not going to go down that road and figuring all that out. You have people that are busting tail. You have students that are busting tail to get assignments. Everything they're juggling, work, family, relations, all this they're juggling, and they're busting tail to get assignments. Whether they're completed or not, and we'll talk about that, whether they're completed or not, they're turning those in. They're getting them by 12:30 on Monday. It's not fair to somebody else saying, hey, can I have an extra day or two to complete my assignment? And I go, well, no, it's just not going to work out. It saves a lot of aggravation. There's a lot of training involved. So late assignments will not be accepted. Please turn in whatever you have, and I probably will talk about that again. And my screens just went blank. My computer didn't shut down, but everything, and this has happened before. I'll just wait for a few seconds because I can't see anything. And then everything put in chat, I think, just disappears. No, it didn't this time. Okay. But I don't know if you guys are looking at a PowerPoint, but I have to reload the PowerPoint. Yes, great. The technology is always wonderful. Maybe, where was I? 13 maybe? Okay. All right. So moving ahead here, let me go back, open the chat box up in case there's anything. All right, each assignment, when you turn in an assignment, it will a CAD assignment, you'll be sending it as the DWG, that's the CAD file extension, AutoCAD, DWG, and a PDF, convert it to PDF. So if you have, let's say, two B sheets for the assignment, doesn't happen often, but let's just say 2 B sheets for the assignment. You're going to send the DWG and then 1 PDF of the 2 B sheets. All right. And that was covered in 1305 on how to do PDFs of 1 sheet or multiple sheets into 1 PDF. So that's how you'll turn everything in. There'll be some assignments that will be coming up that will be a Word doc. I would suggest converting those to PDF. Please, you'll need to convert those to PDF and send those in as a Word doc PDF or a PDF that's converted from a Word doc. There'll be some things that you're going to be sketching by hand. So how the heck do you get those in? Well, if you have a scanner, you can use that. If you don't have a scanner, you take a picture of it with your phone, email it to yourself, and then take that attachment and put it in as the packet. All right, don't send a separate email. This will be all one email for each packet with all the attachments. for the assignments for that week. All right, and make sure that you have the assignment. The assignment page will be in the email, and there's a video on how to put that in there. I need a video on how to put the assignment page into the email. Just copy and paste. And then also make sure you put in the subject the packet number. So in the subject line, the packet number. So packet 1 will be in the subject line, and that's a copy and paste too if you don't want to type that out. It's all very easy, very straightforward. Same thing as before. There could be one test, a midterm, a final, and a pop quiz, and that's pretty much what we'll only have time for in this class. I don't give a quiz every week or anything like that, so that will be possibilities that I'll give you for the tests. For the midterm final exam, I'll make sure it's at least a week's notice, and then I will have a review usually a few days before the test. Or maybe I'll give you a week and a few days notice, and then a week before the test to review. But we'll have a notice and a review sent out. A review will come out through the announcement of the test will come out through announcements, and the review will do online. All right, so typical fill in the blank, multiple choice, can be a sketch or a CAD drawing. We will have a final project, and we'll give you more information on that. It will consist of 6 C sheets, and we'll have more information on the next couple weeks, with the next couple weeks to come, that you'll have the semester to work on the final project. All right, please back everything up to avoid the stress. Every semester, it doesn't matter, online. I think 2 semesters ago, somebody left their laptop in the back of the car, middle of summer. You can imagine what happened to that. And I said, well, you backed up, right? You know the answer to that. So save yourself a lot of anguish and desires. You can ask anybody in industry. They're constantly backing up. They may not have to do the backup in industry. When you get to the job, they probably have an auto, depending on the size of the company, they probably have an auto backup every evening of all the files done. When I was doing drafting for a survey company, I did my own backup on not to an external, because you don't want to take information away from the company, but I did it on the desktop because they had a they call it a C drive, the main drive, and that they did backup on that as well for everything. And I don't know if they used another drive or somewhere else. But anyway, I did my own backup of files that I was working on that day, just in case. I'm kind of weird about that, I know, but backup of backup of backup. Right? All right, so don't forget backup. Miss lectures. If you miss a lecture, it's your responsibility to get caught up. Yeah, I got a lot of people sleeping there. You guys could be sleeping. And if you guys had me before, you know, if you fall asleep in my class, I don't wake you up. I mean, I know you guys juggle a lot over the semesters, and maybe even this semester. I have people working nights and working nights, and then taking online classes. Oh my gosh, that just, especially with an exciting instructor like me, that has just to be so tough on you. That was sarcasm, by the way. That trying to endure. I did that, taking online classes. I had this thing called a netbook. I don't know if any of you remember netbook. It's not really a laptop. It's basically for Word and Excel. It's just a really small thing that we can do. You can get online with it. This was years ago. And I had a netbook going to UNT, and I was trying to finish this report before midnight or before 2. I was just hammering it, trying to get this paper done. And I nodded off once, and I came to, and you know, I see a whole line of R's, going to erase it and try to focus. And I was struggling. I mean, because I was working a couple jobs and school, whole thing. And I nodded off, and I came to again, and I see my face on the monitor. It scared the heck out of me. I mean, you know, not being super attractive anyway, but then just to have my 2 or 3 a.m. look. I don't drink coffee, and I was just like, And what happened, my finger hit the camera button. There, all of a sudden, instead of my document, I see my face. So I understand about that. I used to work night crew back in the 80s. I worked night crew at a grocery store, 7 at night. Or I'm sorry, 10 at night till 7 in the morning. School by 8 to 2 at school. Get home, try to get some sleep, study. I did that like 4 days a week, and I did it for like about a year or a year and a half or something like that. And when I couldn't remember if I stopped at a stop sign, I thought, well, this is getting a little crazy. But I understand about fatigue, juggling things, and falling asleep. So, with that said, all that information is still available to you, but it's your responsibility to search it out. You have the recording of this class. You have all these wonderful, exciting PowerPoints. I have attachments on there that we'll look at in a little bit. We have all this going on, and why did you guys stop me? I'm like going way past my break time. All right. So anyway, we'll take a break here in a second. Let me finish this one PowerPoint. We're on 17. We got only a few more to go. You guys should stop me. You know, say, hey, take a break or something. You guys are asleep and not listening to me. I haven't seen any chatter or any questions. I don't know. But anyway, it's your responsibility. Check everything out. If you still don't have the information, then we need to have a chat either in the class during class time sessions, or if you want to meet with an appointment, you have to make an appointment. All right. Let's see. 40. So why don't we come back at 1:50? Let's take about a 10, 15-minute break. Let's come back at 1:50, and I need to write that down or I'll forget. Come back at 1:50, take a small break here, and we'll finish up this lecture and then talk about assignments. All right? Any questions before I turn off the camera and stop the recording? Any questions? I'll give you a few seconds. I should have asked you earlier. The posting thing, I guess not. So either you guys are mimicking the PowerPoint or all right. All right. David, do you have a question?
Nope.
Okay. All right. I will come back at 1:50 and we will continue class then. Thanks for your patience.